Right, good evening, everybody. 46th episode of No Punches Pulled, live with the Motley crew, myself, JFT, and LT's Sweet Boxing Science, the newly formed YouTube channel. Go and sub to JFT and LT Sweet Boxing Science if you haven't already. We're here for, well, I was going to say a stellar week of boxing. We've been spoiled, haven't we, boys, for the last couple of weeks. I mean, Garner Bellotti's decent. We've got Xander Zayas fighting for the vacant WBO 154 belt. But I gathered the talking points for this week would probably be still off the back of what happened at Wembley last Saturday. There's details still emerging of scenarios. Daniel Dubois has been at parties with 70 people before the fight and so on and so forth. So we'll break down a bit of Usyk Dubois too, and then we'll have a little look ahead to Bournemouth, where Liam Tully will be in attendance.
I'm sorry, I was just about to start the party. Can you tell me to go in the kitchen? I'll be in 10 minutes.
I do want to keep it down, mate. Fair play.
Is Dubois going to start coming out here?
He's here, is Daniel.
Got the old Monterix on.
Right, boys. Usyk Dubois too. I know you boys did a review show on the morning after the night before Sunday. Dubois, did he quit? Did he not quit? What happened with him on Saturday night? Was he not right? Was he off? Is Usyk improving at 38? Is he just too good? What's the fallout from Saturday?
Look, as I said, and I'm not going to bleat on about, I said this and I said, but I did. Nothing's changed from the first fight, right? Everybody he's had some good performances as Daniel. He's had Miller, Hrgovic. But when you break them down in isolation, he was losing the Hrgovic fight, really, and it got stopped on cuts. Jarrell Miller were causing him a whole heap of problems until he ran out of gas and just got overawed and stopped in the corner. AJ tried to iron him out, got caught, and never recovered from the first hurtful punch he took in the first round, right? What that's done is given Daniel Dubois and Team Dubois, I'm going to use Team Dubois, but I'm going to separate Don Charles for a second, right? Because I feel that Don Charles has been a little bit disrespected in the build-up and fight night, but it gave Daniel an unrealistic expectation of himself, and I think his dad thinks he's better than Daniel actually believes he is. I think the dad has to take a lot of responsibility for feeding Daniel this false narrative that you're the man. I get you have to have confidence, but you've got to be realistic. He went in there to face one of the greatest fighters of all time. Me and Liam discussed it over on his channel on the review show that he's probably in my top 5 heavyweights of all time. Well, he's in my top 5 heavyweights of all time. Yep. He's definitely in the top 20 greatest fighters probably of all time. He probably makes the top 20, right? And there's some absolute unreal names in there. But anyway, I'd said that people were reading a lot into Usyk coming in heavy, and I said to you, didn't I, Liam? And I think I said it on No Punches Pulled. I said I just feel that he feels he don't need to be slimmed down. He don't need to boil himself down. He knows what Daniel's got.
He's filling in more to heavyweight, I think, as well.
That Liam said that, and it went to script. I said he will bust him up meticulously and he will stop him in under 7 rounds. What did we get to? Round 5. I knew within 2 minutes of the first round that the fight was done. And I'm not just saying that. You could see Daniel was terrified of engaging.
Falling short with everything.
Never threw a body shot, barely threw a jab. This quitting thing's nonsense. He got rocked, he saw the towel come in, just got up and walked to his corner. I don't believe he quit, but I don't believe that Daniel has the dog in him. He is from middle upper class.
It was a huge left hand, wasn't it?
It knocked a lot of people out, let alone be able to get up and walk away. I just feel that the fight went to script for me. The fight went to script for me.
Liam, I'm going to bring you in here. Sorry, mate. Just get through a few comments. Hi, Jams. Hope you're well, mate. Yeah, Bruce Carrington on that Zayas on the card as well. Leading into DJ Pat. Big up to Jams and Pat. Usyk far superior to DDD. He needs to understand he's not on world level. Don't know. Well, Dubois will come again, I think. Dubois is a good European level heavyweight. He happens to get big bang. Yeah, well, where AJ's at is a big question mark now, Liam, about Dubois. But I just want to bring you in, Liam, on the comments on TalkSport. I'm sure you saw it. Coley and Joe Parker were with Simon Jordan and Spencer Oliver. Watched it myself earlier. the rumor was, now this come from Simon Jordan, so you can take it or leave it. But obviously Dubois had this, or his dad organised this party with people that Daniel Dubois didn't know. Apparently it happened the same as the AJ fight, so it's not really an excuse. It's not like he was drinking 12 Stellas or anything like that. But apparently they get to the venue, Wembley Stadium, 80 minutes before Dubois is due to ring walk, which is a bit of a red flag, I think. And And then apparently Daniel Dubois' dad has then gone and said, "You're letting all these people in, or if not, my son's not fighting." Now, Daniel Dubois' dad, I know that and Caroline Dubois spoken a bit. I think she actually distanced herself away from it a little bit.
She doesn't speak to him, I believe.
It kind of feels weird, the relationship that. And like you said, Jay, I feel sorry for Don Charles in this as well, because his dad seems to have the fight very much like John and Tyson Fury in a way, Liam. But it's it just something feels off about it. Do you know what I mean?
Look, we've heard stories about Daniel's dad before, haven't we? We've heard what he was like before the Trevor Bryant fight. Apparently, him and Shane McGuigan were at each other's heads behind the scenes at the weigh-in, and we've seen what he's been like in Saudi around the Jarrell Miller fight, the way he was slapping on the canvas and Frank Warren had to tell him to sit down. So you've seen glimpses that there's something there that he has to have, main character syndrome, let's say. He has to be visible and present at all times. I mean, look, if the rumours are true with what Don Charles has said today, that everything they done before AJ last September, they done on Saturday, then okay, then they've done exactly the same thing. But there are red flags there. Look, I didn't see the fight until late on Saturday. But one thing I did see was that Dubois didn't arrive until, what was it, 8:30, 20-9, something like that?
That's what Jam's saying here. It's around about 75, 80 minutes prior to the ring walk. Now, Usyk, I believe, was there 3.5 hours because
there wasn't 75 people he tried to get in. He tried to get 12 additional people in.
Usyk was there in time to watch Lapin. He's obviously one of his Ukrainian amateur teammates and stuff. Yeah, mate.
Yeah.
Big red flags. There now needs to be a conversation. Probably Daniel needs to think. Caroline a couple of years ago made a distance, didn't he, between herself and her dad. And in a way, Daniel, although we have seen Daniel at her fights, he may need to start doing the same, because Don Charles and Kieran Farrell, me and Jay spoke about this, are the training team to take him forward. He doesn't need to make any rash changes there. But what he doesn't need is the outside noise and outside influence of his dad being involved.
He's a lost soul. He looks lost.
He's always he's always looked a bit lost, mate. That's nothing new, is it?
Yeah. I do agree with that, Liam. But sorry, around what's on my mind, around the quitting comment or whatever it may be, it's like he got up at 10 or when the ref waved it off, and like his first thought to me seems to be like, I need to walk and find my dad. And I'm not saying that as like but like he got up, he walked past Usyk, and it's like, it's almost like he's programmed to like have to go.
He does as he's told. So he's
exactly. He's not running his own ship.
No, and look, his dad's an authoritarian, strict West Indian upbringing, right? And he's pulled him out of school at 12, 13, whatever he had, right? You can see Daniel is possibly on the spectrum. He's very socially awkward. He doesn't know how to have a decent conversation. He's just very shy. So he just listens to his dad. And unfortunately, his dad's not a boxing guy to a degree. He's not a trainer. So his dad should be allowed to a point. And if his dad had any respect for his son and what his son could potentially do, and Don Charles, but more importantly, his son, he would get to the point. I remember my mother banging on the ring at amateur fights and screaming. When my brother turned pro, she'd stop that. She'd sit in her seat and scream from where the rest of the fans were. His dad and his entourage stood in the corner. You're not seconds. You're not cornermen. Yeah. They lost Daniel his best chance of putting up a performance.
Agree with what Jam said here as well, 100%.
Absolutely, lost him his best chance. Not saying he would have won, but he needed all his ducks in a line, and his dad pissing around and celebrating pre-fight don't work. And
what's his dad doing? It's not your night. It's your son's biggest night.
Mate, like I said, main character syndrome, similar to what we've seen with John Fury in the past. That he has to be all about him. If the attention's not on him, he's got to do something to create it. I mean, look, you said right back at the start, Sam, is Usyk getting better? Has anything actually changed? Nothing really has changed since they first fought in 2023, other than Usyk just decided that he wanted to give up one of his belts, and now he's taking back what's his. Remember, he done that video saying the belt was a present to him and Joshua to fight for, so he's come back to take it. Him, I went through his weights at heavyweight because we're speaking about, he's coming in too big. Since his debut against Witherspoon in 2017, he's only put on 20 pounds. 20 pounds in 6 years. That's not a lot of weight. That's doing the weight properly. That's naturally moving up. He's just an unbelievable talent. And if he carries on fighting, we just got to enjoy him while he's here. But if his last legacy is that left hook laying out Daniel Dubois at Wembley Stadium to become a 3-time undisputed champion, I can't think of many better ways to go out, really, can you? He is an unbelievable talent. Daniel Dubois just isn't on that level. As I've said, Dubois is a great heavyweight. Usyk is an elite. And there's a big difference between great and elite, as we've seen when Joshua tried to do it and other fighters have tried to do it with Usyk, even when he's down at cruiserweight. His toughest fight still was probably Bradis, like we spoke about last week. I wouldn't say he's had a tough fight really at heavyweight. He's almost looked comfortable and as if he's always known when to move through the gears at heavyweight, hasn't he?
Big up, Luca. Thanks for your comment and joining us as always, mate. What do you think about that? Because I find that interesting as well. It's like, is Don Charles happy to just sit back and be quiet and just let it all happen? Peter Fury's an interesting take because I don't think Peter Fury would allow that mess. I'm just saying, just as Lucas said.
Peter Fury? Jesus Christ.
But, he hasn't been around for a while, but he wouldn't go to Andy Lee because of Parker. I don't think, Jonathan, that's a bit of a conflict of interest for Andy Lee, to be fair. To have,
I think Daniel would be better in a camp where he's not the main guy, where he's got to fight for attention, where he's got to, somewhere like the Ingle camp, somewhere that's a busy, bustling gym, or Rotunda, where there's.
Well, he had the McGuigan, didn't he? He was with McGuigan with that essentially. Josh Taylor was the main guy, wasn't he, at the time?
Yeah, and I think this blowing smoke up his ass has backfired, and it's because Daniel's not that kind of guy. We saw a glimpse of it against Joshua, trying to push back against Joshua, and he just made himself look like a dickhead. And it's blown up in his face. He's not that kind of guy. He's a socially awkward, quiet guy, reserved. I've lost a little bit of respect for Don Charles for not being stronger-willed and saying, listen, this is my guy. I know you're his dad, but I'm his fucking trainer. That's what I get paid for. I'm in charge, right? Sit down. Honestly, that's what he should have had an argument with his dad. Pulled him outside the changing room and said, listen, it's on me tonight. You can scream from ringside, but I wouldn't recommend Peter Fury anyway. Name me a good fighter that he's trained that wasn't good when they went to him. You can't do that. His son's useless. Savannah Marshall was good when she went there. All he's done is tweaked. Daniel doesn't need that. Daniel needs stripping back and building back up because his ego has been shattered because his dad blew smoke up his ass and made him believe that he could walk through Usyk.
He needs to get away from his dad for a start. Don Charles might be the man for him, but Hand History Vault, thanks for joining us and asking this question. So I'm going to put it to Jane Liam before we move on to this week's action. My thoughts on it before I pass it to you guys is the Chisora thing is his mate, so he's just saying that. That isn't obviously going to happen. In my opinion, Usyk is fighting for one reason now, and it's for his country. He's got all the money in the world. He's won all the belts. Nothing really. But what he is doing is he's doing a great deal for his country now.
It's Fury, isn't it?
We know how much Ukraine means to him. So, what Usyk wants, in my opinion, is the most amount of eyeballs on his fights, not for the financial gain or the belts, because that's all. He's locked that up. His legacy's done. What he wants is the most amount of eyeballs on his fights. So, will he fight Fury for a third time? I don't know. He's definitely not going to fight Joshua. That isn't happening. He can fuck off and fight Jake Paul for all I care. Is it Tyson Fury? Is it going to be Joe Parker? With the greatest of respect to Joe Parker, he's going to fight for a vacant WBO belt, in my opinion. I think Usyk will be getting rid of belts before he fights his next fight. He could see a non-title fight against Tyson Fury. He might just vacate the little Ring Magazine belt.
He don't need belts, does he? We all know the best heavyweight.
What's the point? 2-time undisputed at heavyweight, 1-time undisputed at cruiser. Why does he need like with Parker and Atalma are the WBO interim and number one?
Let the belts go, man. Just keep the ring. Just keep the ring.
Yeah. Look, I think as well, he played to the British crowd, didn't he? He knew what was going to get the best reaction out of that Wembley crowd. It was mentioning those three names that you did there. All fan favourites in their own right. All were going to get the right reaction. He knew what he was doing.
I hear you, Luca.
He'll he'll vacate belts or have belts taken away from him, because every division apart from the IBF has an interim or a regular or something champion waiting around. So they'll do something, won't they? All the divisions will make a move in the next couple of months, unless it's a Tyson Fury fight and they all see massive dollar signs there and they decide.
His dream would be to fight in Kiev.
It's not right on Parker and Cabiel this time.
It's unfair. Technonautics jams. I actually know someone that was on the Forbes list and he didn't have a pot to piss in. So Technonautics are those numbers, mate. That's a true story.
It's worth 101 mil. Jake Paul would be the answer. Well, true, yeah. I saw Jake Paul faced off with him, didn't he, in the ring? He gets where.
I can't believe they let that happen. Sorry, mate. I can't believe they let that happen in the ring. After he's just become undisputed, you allowed a Disney kid to get in there.
I know. Well, there's actually legs in this Joshua Jake Paul thing, allegedly. Apparently,
there is allegedly, yeah.
To be honest with you, I don't blame AJ. Like, let's be honest, his career at the top of the heavyweight division is done. He's probably going to get 150, 200 mil to fight Jake Paul and get 3 minutes worth of work. So I actually don't blame him, to be honest.
Depends on the script, mate. The script might tell him to last 10. It's never.
But the thing is, AJ has more power than Jake. AJ would be the A side in that fight. He's not Julio Cesar Chavez or Ben Askren or AJ. Actually, there's no way AJ would play into the script, surely.
Mate,
yes, Luca.
We're talking about it, and I think it's because it sounds like it's going to happen, but it says a hell of a lot about AJ's. Let's go with fall from grace if he's, going in with someone.
You can tell by the way Eddie's talking, Liam. Eddie's all in on it because he's
dollar signs, mate. Dollar signs in his eyes. He's and he's just thinking another press conference with Jake and Nikita. We know how they go down. They don't get on well. All the clicks, mate. It will happen. I think we'll see it at the start of next year
in Saudi.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Mate, closing Riyadh season. They do a card, don't they, to close Riyadh season in February, March.
I think they'll do it in Wembley or something. I think they'll do it in the UK to maximise AJ's, because AJ'd sell Wembley out against anybody.
Of course.
Turkey's doing my head in. I'm hoping that Turkey gets... I don't want to say beheaded, but I hope he gets locked up for political shit and they just drag him away from boxing because he's turning it into an absolute farce.
Yeah, his comments on Tim Zood the other day.
Yeah, it's an absolute... To disrespect somebody like that, a professional fighter, when that guy's never fucking broke a fingernail. He's a div. He couldn't throw a punch if his life depended on it. Yes, he's got the backing. People forget, though, it's not his door. He's just a mouthpiece. Turkey's a mouthpiece. Yeah. That's all. He's a mouthpiece in a job. He can lose his job tomorrow. Yes, he's brought a lot of big fights on, but what happens when he goes and all these fighters can't get fights because they've got unrealistic expectations of what they're worth, especially the females? He's going to ruin women's boxing. You watch.
Yeah, shocking, Jams. Yeah. Right, before we move on to this week, one more topic of discussion. In fact, no, sorry. I want to ask you, what do you think will be next for Dubois before we move on? Fabio Wardley?
Potentially someone of the Wardley, Ijagba, Bacoli sort of realm. Look, as me and Jay said at the weekend, we don't need to see him dropping down back to the domestic level, but fringe world level. Richard Torres, even Makhmudov. Makhmudov was this big, scary heavyweight 2 years ago. He's sort of had his aura shattered. Yeah, there's enough on the fringe.
Makhmudov.
Yeah, look, he'll be still ranked in the top 10 with all the governing bodies, won't he? So there'll be options there. We'll see him probably in a decent enough 10-rounder back end of the year would be my guess.
Look, he's 27. He'll come again, won't he? I think Moses and Dillian next month is going to be interesting for the landscape of the heavyweight division. If Moses blows him away, which most of us expect him to do, what happens there? Yeah, Tim Tszyu. We all picked Fundora, didn't we, last week? He was a decent underdog, and we all thought Fundora would beat Tszyu.
Yeah, but I do think if Dillian White has enough of a pulse after a time is finished with him, he'll probably give him to Dubois.
Listen, Dillian White's going to knock a Talma out, man.
Oh, he is. Clip it. Moses in one.
I believe
Moses in one.
I'm not writing Dillian out of it. I don't believe he'll win.
I'm
still not writing him out.
Yeah. Oh, that would be horrible.
Yeah, I get that, Luca. That's probably a fight that they will make, or maybe someone like Michael Hunter. not a
stylistic
massive
nightmare
puncher.
for Daniel with no profile. That's the issue, isn't it? Look,
I'm just thinking of someone
Pulev
that's
for
not
the
a
regular,
massive
someone
puncher.
said. Wouldn't surprise me.
Maybe.
Two-time regular champion. That's got a ring to it for Daniel, hasn't
Yeah. Look,
the thing is, he's got plenty of options, doesn't he? He's young. Yeah. He'll be well ranked. He's got a load of options. As long as we see him the end of this year, if we're getting into early spring next year and we still haven't seen Dubois fight again, then you'll start going, is there something going on? You want to see him out again. Obviously, once he's over the mandatory stand-down period from a stoppage defeat and stuff, then getting back in there.
Yeah, Jabba's got a fight announced. Hannes Strugolt says Turkey wants. Yeah, I saw Turkey tweet about Terma versus Usyk. There's no point in that whatsoever. That's just I'm not
for anyone with a pulse yet. You don't need to be putting a timer in there with
Usyk. Oh yeah, sorry, he is Luca. Yeah, Hunter is fighting Pulev, isn't he? Always due to fight him. Don King job. Right, before we go into then Garner and Bellotti, Josh Taylor's announced his retirement as an recurring eye injury. He hasn't been right, has he, for a few years, to be fair to him. Obviously, the Essendon performance probably cemented that. The doctors have advised him, and correctly so, probably, risk of losing his sight.
Sorry, I've got something in my throat.
If he boxes on. So, look, I mean, what a career. The last few years, obviously, fell off a little bit, but was top 5 pound for pound about 4 or 5 years ago after he beat Jose Ramirez for the Undisputed. So, fair play to him. Incredible career. Evening, Dave. Hope you're well, mate. Thanks for joining as always.
Look, if his career stopped after the Ramirez fight in Vegas when he became Undisputed, we'd be having a conversation about where he sits, wouldn't we? But unfortunately, everything since Ramirez has been watching behind your eyes, and he's not helped himself at times. Look, the Jack Catterall first fight was more on the judges than it is on him, even though he didn't handle it the best in the aftermath. He is still at current time our only 4-belt undisputed champion, so that holds some weight. You got to give him props for that. That run from O'Hara Davis all the way through to Ramirez was fantastic, but as Jay's kind of alluded to yesterday, is his ego kind of allowing him to use an injury as a way out rather than just admitting it's not there anymore? Because we saw against Eko Esserman, he was nowhere near the fighter he was even 3 years earlier than that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't believe him. I think he's lying. I just think his ego wouldn't allow him to just quit on the back of getting beat by somebody that wouldn't have laced his boots 3 or 4 years ago. We've never really heard of this niggling eye injury that he's had previously. It's never kept him out of fights before. Look, he was pound for pound top 3 at one stage between 5 and 3 years ago. He's had a fantastic
There was talk
career.
of him and Terence Crawford being a 50-50 fight at one stage.
It's a shame that it sort of fizzled out after such a rapid for what he did in very few fights as well. For what he did in a handful of fights, really. But he's had a fantastic career. I'm assuming he's made enough money to not have to, get a job on the rigs on the coast of Scotland or stacking shelves in his local supermarket. But, he's had some great fights, put on some brilliant performances. Good luck to him. Thanks for the memories, Josh. But I think you're lying.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree.
It's true though, isn't it? Because sorry, mate, he pulled out, didn't he, of a couple of fights because of hand injuries and stuff. If he said, "Look, it's my hand," you go, "Okay, right, you got form for this." But an eye injury that hasn't happy to be proven wrong, that's never been flagged up. Yeah, mate. Just admit, we'd sit here and have a lot more respect if you just said, "Look, I've realised over the last 18 months I don't have it anymore. Be it it's gone away, or I just don't have that dog because I climbed the mountain already." We'd sit here and have a lot more respects, but. Like you say, mate, all the best to him. He gave us some fantastic nights, and hopefully we're not going to have him coming back in 5 years. For like we've seen with other fighters, they retired and they come back. Yeah. Hopefully, Josh doesn't need to do it.
Don't quote me if I'm wrong, but I do believe the second Catterall, the rematch in the Catterall fight was postponed for a bit due to a Taylor eye surgery or something like that. But that's just coming to my head. I might be wrong. Someone might correct me. Han Hishibot, can you do a discussion video on Garner versus Bellotti? Yeah, let's get into that now. Maybe do some predictions later in the week. But Liam, you'll be in Bournemouth on Saturday for Ryan Garner, Reece Bellotti for the British Commonwealth and European. It's super feather, isn't it? This one got Garner undefeated coming in, Bellotti on a proper run. Obviously, we watched the Gomez Jr. fight last time out. I think he's won 5 or 6 in a row, hasn't he? Now everyone thought he was pretty done at one stage. His last loss actually to Ray Ford, to be fair, not a bad one to have on there. But yeah, Levi Giles, Liam Dillon prior to that, and Garner's just on an upward trajectory, isn't he? Obviously beat Jimenez for that European belt last time out. Matchroom versus Queensbury on a Queensbury show. I think this is pretty much a 50-50, to be honest with you. I put my
I think it could be a draw. I think it could be that close, and they may end up doing it again. I'm leaning towards Bellotti, but it depends what Garner turns up and what Bellotti turns up. I keep waiting for Bellotti to dip again, but he just keeps pulling out the performances, and hats off to him.
Indian summer.
Listen, he got brought in as an opponent 6 fights ago and hasn't lost since.
Liam Dillon, yeah.
Do you get what I mean? So you've got to sort of lean towards him because he's been there, he's done it, and this is probably one of Garner's biggest fights, toughest tests, would you say? Really?
Oh, yeah, it's his toughest test, I think.
Has he got what it takes to do it on the night?
Yeah, I mean, you just said about Reece Bellotti. When he lost to Ray Ford, that was his 3rd defeat in 5 or 4th in 5, something like that. He was on a proper downward spiral, got brought in as the opponent against Liam Dillon for the British and Commonwealth, didn't he, last year? Sort of, Eddie gave his old charge a call up saying, look, come and have a bash for the British and Commonwealth. We want to give Liam Dillon a name. And he upset the scripts last night. And since then, he's done Gomez Jr., he's done... who did he beat at the Copper Box? He had a defence at the Copper Box as well, and he's just on a good run. But Ryan Garner's on his way up, if everything's to be believed. Archie Sharp on the Joyce Chisora card last year was his breakout fight when he outpointed him on the undercards. This, Salvador Jimenez for the European turned out to be a relatively comfortable night's work for him. Is he going to be able to do it again? Look, if you go by the form book, you'd have to say that the recent body of work from Bellotti probably outweighs what...
It does. I'm with Dave, though. I think Garner could be good, honestly. It's a great fight.
Yeah, look, it's a great fight.
I'm not just saying that. I actually believe that this fight will probably be a draw or will be 1-1-5, 1-1-3.
Mate, it will come down to a knockdown. That. I guarantee it will come down to a knockdown, and that will sway it one way or the other. Because it will be, it'll be one of those fights. It's a draw on the cards, but a knockdown, a 10-8 round sways it. It is that close. Bellotti knows, a chance to become British, Commonwealth, European is probably, with his age as well, as good as it's going to get for him. Garner knows that he's on his way up in the rankings. I think he's top 5 with the IBF. So, he's got a decent ranking he's sitting on. It's just going to be a very good fight and has the potential to be one of the best domestic fights we see this year. These are two men that only know one gear, only know how to go forwards. Is Garner younger, fresher and hungrier? You'd lean towards that argument. But for me, I just think where Bellotti's at in his career, I think he's going to pull it off again. On a way soil.
Bellotti's seasoned compared to Garner.
Chips stacked against him, mate. Chips stacked against him on a Queensbury card. Yes, okay, staying on his platform.
He loves it. No, you can't, Luca. Bollocks, mate. You've been slagging my man, Sol.
What a win for Sol Dacres, Luca. Luca is jumping on the Dacres bandwagon.
Day one, mate.
Yeah. Dacres for the WBC belt, Luca, and all this. He just mentioned him a minute ago. He's the Don King of the YouTube chat, Luca. Love it. Big up Joe for joining us. Great question. How do you see Moses versus Jar Patai? I think in 3 or 4 years that could be a heavyweight world championship fight.
It could be a unification fight, mate. That could be for a couple of belts in a few years.
It's so hard to say.
I think Dacres deserves Usyk, if I'm honest. But he's not going to get it, is it? But we can dream. How would you see Moses Atoma versus Jaya Patai?
We can dream.
Heavyweight. I think Moses will knock him out. No, we don't know.
You don't.
He's got a great deep, fight. But obviously, he hasn't had to dig deep yet. But he hasn't actually fought anyone. I don't believe he's getting the best of Dillian. Dillian's washed, but a washed Dillian is still European level. Is he going to turn up for this fight? I'm still unsure if it's actually going to take place. I've seen no press for it whatsoever, and we're 3 weeks away from fight night.
Yeah.
3 weeks. 3 weeks on Saturday.
It is the fight of the weekend. Garner Bellotti is fighting for the vacant WBO 154, isn't it? Yeah, what's going on with Jalalov? Like double Olympic champion, undefeated as a pro, super talented, but just isn't fighting anybody. Like, he's a top rank fighter, is he not? Top rank of getting people on Riyadh season cards. Top rank have had what's his name? Jared Anderson.
Jared Anderson, big baby.
He fought on a Riyadh season card and stuff. So there's no excuse for that. And obviously Brian Norman's a top rank guy. He's fighting Haney on the Night of Champions card or whatever. It's a top rank of working with Riyadh season. So there's absolutely no reason why Jalalov shouldn't be fighting on those cards for his talent.
Mate,
he's wasted career. Yeah,
it's piss poor management. They allowed him to go back to another Olympic Games, and they just haven't done anything with him since. You know, Terramona went back to another Olympic Games, and I know he hasn't fought anyone of note yet, but at least he's active, and there's plans to bring him over to the UK and to do bits with him. That, you know, Jalalov should have been out 2 or 3 times already, and now should be looking 10-rounder or, you know, for a fringe trinket or something. Instead, like Dave said, it's wasting time, and very quickly he's going to end up doing what Makhmudov done. They'll put him in there with someone slightly live, and he'll get exposed if he's not, you know, progressed quickly enough. That's my feeling.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary. Hand history vault. Yeah, I think that's just about bang on the money. Yeah, Shoe's back out. Bruce Carrington, big fan of him as well. Jams, I think he's got potential to be a world champion in the not too distant future. Any other things going on, boys, before we wrap up?
Boxing wise, got a massive UFC card, 8 p.m. UK time. Robert Whittaker against Iridia headlining. We've got Petr Yan. It's a massive card, but it just shows that, you know, oil money gets what oil money gets. They've just had a crappy card. They've just had a crappy card topped with a great fight at the weekend in the US. And we get a massive card that's got Shara, but it's just, it's stacked from top to bottom, and it's a flipping fight night.
I know, it's so weird. Yeah, I heard about that, Luke. Sorry, just reading that. Yeah, Ben Shalom wouldn't let TKB fight with Dave Allen, would he? Or he wanted Fraser.
Where is Ben? Has anybody seen Ben?
Yeah. What's going on with Boxer? The eye players getting him on.
I've looked on iPlayer. I've looked on 5 Live. Yeah. I've looked on every crappy channel that's available, and there's no announcements yet. Ben, what's happening?
That card's a lot weaker without Kakachi, in my opinion.
Well, it is when they bring in someone like Nova as a replacement opponent as well. What did you say? Was Jay 1 in 4?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. He's not beat anyone recently. I think.
Yeah, good fight. That.
Look, Ben Shalom has no ground to stop his fighters taking fights when he can't announce the broadcaster for his fights, if that makes sense. I mean, Boxer's social media has been alight again, hasn't it, the last 7 days? But not seeing an announcement. They've sort of done look, these are our best moments. Oh, look, this is our fighters in rankings. But we haven't heard anything about where they're going to be fighting. And very soon, their fighters will just jump ship. They'll be like, well, you're not getting us work. You're not allowing us to fight. We want to move elsewhere. Jake Paul's team has announced 4 more female fighters for MVP.
Obviously, everyone struggles against the call. You've got to fight falling asleep at the same time and try to defend yourself, haven't you? Boom.
Yeah, I think, look, half of Boxers girls are going to end up over on MVP. Jake's teased an announcement, hasn't he, this week? Fran Hennessy, Lauren Price, Caroline. I think they'll probably end up over there, and that's the place for the female boxers to go at the moment, isn't it?
It definitely is. Yeah, I'd back Duarte in that one, I think, hand history vault, to be fair. I think that'll do it, boys, for this week, because the schedule's looking pretty light, to be fair.
It is. It'll catch itself back up again.
Yeah, the next big fight, I think, is the Moses Dillian White, from what I could see. Correct me if I'm
nothing of note before then. No, Duarte's next weekend, and that's the fight. Yeah, you've only got one big fight announced so far for August, and we'll probably not get any more. And that is what we see.
Yeah, you've got the Japanese card on at some point soon. I think Kenshiro Taraji's fighting. But yeah, again, that's it's pretty slim pickings up until August the 16th, where Moses fight. That's a good card, to be fair, but. Obviously, September's going to be the big one, isn't it? Canelo Crawford, Inoue, MJ, so on and so forth. So, thanks, everybody, as always, for joining us. That won't happen, Dave. She's too stubborn and stuck in her own ways, Clarissa, to be honest. But big up to David Roper Ope, Jams, Red Corner Boxing, hand history.
Cheers, Dave, boys, Jams, Luca.
Mickey, thanks for stopping by, Luca. Joe, hand history vaults. Who else was here? this evening. DJ Pat, of course, thanks for joining us. I think that was it. If I missed anybody out, I do apologise. Don't forget to subscribe up to the boys, JFT. You know where to find Straight Talk. Go over on the JFT YouTube channel. Prediction shorts coming as always. Liam's brand new channel, LT Sweet Boxing Science. Make sure you're going to sub up to that. He's got all sorts of content coming. I think you're doing some stuff from the Garner Bellotti fight, aren't you, on Saturday night as well, Liam?
Get a few bits out from there as well, which would be good. No punches, Paul. Jesus, Liam's Fight Night Picks will be a live show, relaunching tomorrow. Got the Rope-a-Dope boys joining me, so 7 o'clock on the channel. Get involved in the comments, have a bit of interaction, which will be good. Yeah, lots to come. Exciting times for all three of us as a collective and with our own stuff.
Love it. What have we got? Oh yeah, sorry. Matchroom slate, Luke, is going to be announced soon, isn't it? The new Matchroom schedule.
Next week,
yeah.
apparently.
Look, somebody put a good tweet out yesterday just before we finished saying Top Rank nothing announced, Matchroom nothing announced, Boxer nothing announced. Like no one's got any cards announced at the minute. It's just Queensbury just dominating everything. So
that's just reminding me, Rafferty Chamberlain the week after Talma and White. You got Rafferty.
Sorry, yeah, I did see that. Yeah, that's a good fight.
And that's you saying Queensbury's just joined my memory, so that's something else.
Yeah, but pretty slim pickings. But yeah, thanks everybody as always. Top Man Jay and Liam.